The first time I ever met Jared Doerfler, it was because of his newsletter, his weekly e-newsletter called Perfect Putt. Really well done. And it was taking off and things were happening and he was super busy. He was doing a lot of writing and coverage of the game. And we'll get into some of that in the moments ahead. Then somewhere along the way, I don't know if it was during a dream. I don't know if it was a vision. I don't know if he lost a bet. But at some point, Jared, you decided, you know what? It's time for me to get into the putter space, a crowded space, and to do it in a customized way. And I've just been following kind of the progress from afar, and I thought it would be fun for us to reconnect. So, how are you, man? It's good to see you again.
Bill, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Love chatting with you because you're a Michigan guy, and Michigan's my second favorite state. I love that place. It's beautiful. So happy to chat with you today.
Well, we have, as I mentioned, we're keeping our eye on these developments in the world of Hanna Golf, and I want to talk about that here in a moment. But before we talk about the specifics of what you're doing in the putter space, take me on a little journey and take everybody on the journey for where you started with the Perfect Putt newsletter and where the idea came for getting into the putter world.
It was about 4 years ago, right about this date, Bill, that I published the first Perfect Putt newsletter to three people. I was finishing my MBA program and had an elective to burn, so I took entrepreneurship and innovation. And the instructor said, "Write online." And I won't bore you with the details about why he said to do that, but I took him up on it because I thought it was a good idea. I'm a terrible writer by trade. I mean, I'm not kidding when I say this. I legit barely passed freshman English. So I just started this as, purely basically a hobby. I didn't think anyone would ever read it. And so I fired up an old Twitter account that had like 70 followers and just started tweeting about the business side of golf and started writing about it to nobody, really. Nobody read it for the first 3 to 6 months, and started to pick up some traction on the newsletter about a year in. And the newsletter has a little over 11,000 subscribers right now. Not huge by any means. A lot bigger newsletters out there, but the quality and the readership that we have is really good. So that was about 4 years ago that Perfect Putt journey began.
Is it still going?
It is.
I knew the answer to that, but I wanted to hear you say it because that takes a lot of work. For you to mention that you were doing it for about a year before it really kicked into gear, that's a lot of dedication and perseverance and patience and commitment because, 7 months in, it would be awfully easy to look at people around you and go, what am I doing this for? This is not making sense. And then all of a sudden you pop a little bit. Do you remember the moment in that first iteration where you thought, all right, this is working?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly there's timing is has to do with a lot of things in life, and by pure luck, the golf industry is really popping in 2021, and there was a lot going on from an acquisition standpoint. And so, I remember vividly. It was in the fall. It was probably 3 months in, 4 months in at this point, and wrote a piece about Callaway and Top Golf, and it was a really good piece, and had some people really push that on social media, and that I remember I got like 100 subscribers in one day off that for people pushing that, and that was a big moment for us. And I thought, okay, maybe there is something here. And then it kind of leveled out for a while, and then that winter and spring it started to kind of grow again. So yeah, I mean, for me, you kind of have to be dumb to do something like that, to keep doing it, because the reward really isn't there. For me, it was more about the journey, and I loved researching and like putting things into charts and writing everything on that side when I first started. So, I mean, that's what really kept me going.
So you're a data-driven kind of a guy, right? I mean, that's if I remember your business analytics mindset, you like to crunch numbers and try to make sense out of all of it. You're the guy who's looking at the financial reports and enjoying it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, there really isn't anyone out there that's looking at a Acushnet and Callaway's financials on a quarterly basis. And the people that are putting it out like in a Wall Street style report, which is confusing for me and confusing for everyone else. So let's put in bullet points and just tell me, are they doing good or bad? Is it good or bad for the industry? And so easy to digest numbers and how are they doing from a year over year standpoint, what products are doing well, what products aren't doing well, et cetera.
Okay, so as you're digging into some of those analytics and you're looking at product performance and trends and popularity, at some point, I don't know, you have to tell us who whispered in your ear putters. Let's get into.
Well, I think there's a few things. I think the first thing is I started to meet a lot of people in the golf space and started to realize that there's the golf space is a really cool place to be, and there's contrary to popular belief, what you see on social media, 99.9% of the golf space, those folks are extremely kind.
Yeah.
And they gave me a lot of their time and they gave me a lot of advice. And I was like, you know what, this is different than I've seen in other spaces. You have competitors that are friendly and you have folks that really want to encourage winning. And so I'm like, I kind of want to be a part of that instead of write about it. I want to kind of be in it. And so concurrently, really unbeknownst to me, I was bored one winter night in Iowa, probably 2023 or so in January, I think it was. And I was like, I want to sketch a putter. And the reason why I wanted to sketch a putter is because when I played in college, when I walked on, the coaching staff put us on this putting software, and I was using a blade putter like almost everybody was at that time. This is 2008. And I mean, I had two strokes of that thing, and Coach Bermel at UNI was like, "Hey, we got to get you a different putter. This is not right for you." And I'm from a small school. I graduated with 42 kids in my class. I'd never been on putting software before, so that was a really eye opening experience. So he gave me this putter, and Coach Berm played in a few PGA championships as a pro, and I got this putter off a tour truck, and so it was a prototype, and I loved that putter for 3 years that I was at UNI. And I mean, it didn't look great, didn't feel great, didn't sound great, but I made a lot of putts with that thing. And so when I graduated, I gave it back to him. And I was kind of burnt out after golf, Bill, for a little bit, but I've always kind of loved putters and always kind of collected putters and been curious about them. And every year I try to find that exact putter on like eBay or Craigslist, and I can never find it. So 10 years later or whatever, about 10 years later, I said, look, I'm just going to sketch this. And so I sketched it. I had no idea what CAD even was at the time. My brother-in-law is an aerospace engineer. He's in CAD. That's what he does every day. He's in CAD. So he's like, I'll draw it for you in CAD. And I had another friend in Texas has a machine shop, and I paid him to mill it. The first one was awful. It weighed about 450 grams. Had no idea that you could simulate weights. I mean, all of this stuff. And so we made a second one, and that one turned out better. Still terrible, but better. And I used that for 2 years. And so I say that because I wanted to get in the golf space. I've had this entrepreneur bug for a while, and I really enjoyed that project. And for me to get in the golf space, I didn't want to just have somebody else make something and me just sell something. I wanted to make it myself. Manufacturing's in my blood, going back to my granddad, who was born in 1926, and I love making stuff. And so you can make golf putters. One of the few things in the golf space you can make. So why not, Bill? Why not just give it a shot? Never seen a CNC mill in my life. Don't know CAD, don't know CAM, and I was dumb enough to give it a shot.
Okay, so you decide to take the plunge. How long was the learning curve, or is the learning curve still taking place?
The initial learning curve was about 8 months. So I quit my job in July of 2023 and bought a CNC mill. And looking back on this, it didn't seem crazy at the time, but it's crazier now I think about it. My wife was like fully on board and fully supporting me. With 2 kids at the time. Now we have 3. And just say, hey, I quit your job. You've never seen a CNC mill before. Do you even know how to run one of these things? And so it took me about 8 months to really get over that initial learning curve. But the beauty about machining, Bill, is that we're learning new techniques and new things on a weekly basis. Still, it's like golf. You can always get better. You can always refine something in your golf game. You can always push to get a little bit better. And so for us, it's the same thing. In machining, CAD, CAM, whatever it is, there's always different techniques we can do to get better. So we're still learning. Absolutely.
Okay, so let's go back to the conversation you had with your wife. What was your job that you quit to do all this?
Yeah, I was a vice president of sales and manufacturing at a manufacturing company in Iowa.
Okay, so probably a fairly reliable steady income and probably, I don't know, some benefits or some vacation
Great
time
job.
or whatever. Yeah, so great job. Um, I do believe that behind every successful endeavor, there has to be a partnership concept to it. And obviously, you got buy-in from your wife. Was it
Mhm.
difficult at first, and how nervous were you? Because as the one who's making the request, let me back up. 26 years ago, when I started Michigan Golf Live, I remember having the conversation with my wife, and I said, I have this idea. Now, I was still doing all sorts of things in broadcasting, so I didn't quit everything else, but I was adding this on top of it, which, is also very difficult.
Mhm.
Um, she said, I have two questions. One, do you think you'll get free golf? And number two, do you think we'll go broke? I mean, that question of security is very important within a family structure. So were the conversations difficult, and did you kind of think to yourself, okay, this is serious because I've got more than just me involved in what's happening?
I totally agree with what you're saying. To have any level of success in anything in life, doesn't matter what it is, you have to have a supportive spouse or a supportive partner in that endeavor. And my wife, she was at the end, because I had been thinking about this for about 6 months, and at the end, she was nudging me to go put in my notice. And for me, with the job I had, I put about 2 months notice in, and I wanted to continue to see the company do well after I left. I wanted to see it even, I wanted to continue to see it grow and get better. And she was nudging me. And I mean, I've been with my wife since high school. We dated in high school, and so I think she knows me better than I know myself. And she was nudging me. I don't think she ever asked a single question about things that maybe people would wonder about. She knows where we're at, and from like a financial standpoint, we worked really hard in our 20s, and so we knew we had a little bit of money that we could dump into this thing, and we knew we could pay the bills, for the next, 3 to 5 years, with if I was not making any money. And so, yeah, I mean, she's completely supportive, and not only that, like I said, we had our third kid, right after I launched this thing in 2024, and I'm up in the shop at 5 in the morning and coming home at 9, 10 at night, working Saturdays, working Sundays, and it takes a special person to tag along with that, especially when you're not making any money.
Yeah.
So at that time, and so yeah, I mean, she's a huge part of the story.
Love that. I mean, I absolutely love that teamwork approach to all of it. So you're learning the industry from a manufacturing standpoint. You're learning how to literally work machines that you've never worked before. If you had to kind of count up how many, the image of the old writer, the guy who wants to be the novelist, he's got his typewriter, and there's that picture with all of the balled up pieces of paper that he ripped out of the typewriter and just threw in the corner because it wasn't coming out right and he was still using a typewriter. How many ripped out pieces of putter components would you have in the dumpster outside the shop there? As you're learning all of this, you can only learn by going through actual materials and resources.
We actually have kept every single putter we've screwed up, and
Nice.
we're moving. We're in about a 1,200 square foot shop right now. We're moving our shop here to a bigger shop in the next 3 months, and so I asked Tyler, who's with me on this journey now full time, and I said, do we need to get rid of those in the graveyard? And there's about 60 of them, I'd say, and
Sure.
um, he said no. And I'm like, we just scrap them, get rid of 50 of them, keep 10 that are had some significant importance of us. But when I first started, I mean, it was about a week to make a putter, if that makes sense. And so there wasn't a lot of quantity. And now what I think the last, we'll scrap a putter once a month now, maybe. But, when we come out with a new putter, we can tend to scrap them in batches, unfortunately. And mostly the reason why is a weighting issue. And, if we're seeing weight a little too heavy or a little too light, we're gonna scrap those. And why you see that on new, if you will, for us is a work holding issue, how we're holding that putter on the final operation. So that's kind of the one of the last issues we had in March when we came out with our new putter, the Salt Lake. And yeah, I mean, we've kind of hit a good stride now. We haven't broken any tools in a while. We haven't broken any probes in a while, and we haven't really scrapped any putters. And on the flip side of that, Bill, is we should be scrapping more. And here's why I say that is because we've been the last 2-3 months, we've just been in the mode of getting putters out the door. It's been a great run for us the last 5 months, and demand's been nice. But on the flip side of that, we haven't had time to innovate and come out with new things.
Yeah.
And so we should be failing, and we should be scrapping stuff and on new stuff. And so today we've got last Friday we had a new putter go on, and we scrapped one. It didn't work out well. The second one we put on, it was perfect. And then we got a new one going on today as well. So I'm hoping that we don't screw anything up, but on new designs, it's always welcome to scrap some stuff.
Yeah. Where does the name Hanna Golf come into play?
Yeah. So it's pronounced Hanna Golf, and generally almost everyone gets that wrong. And I don't care, but my oldest daughter's name is Johanna, and
Okay.
my middle daughter's name is Harriet. So I just I'm not a creative really by any means from a marketing side. So I just said, all right, if I chop the Joe off, we get Hanna, and then I can kind of tell Harriet it starts with an H, and so we'll be happy.
I like it. I like it. Okay, so we think about the putter space, right? I was in a PGA Tour Superstore not too long ago, and within a few feet of entering is where you enter their putter universe, and there are, my goodness, I don't know, 800 putters that are in a circle around this large putting green, and they're the brands that you would expect, along with, at least in Michigan, a couple of Michigan-based putter brands like Detroit Putter Company, that kind of thing. What is the Hana Golf goal and definition of success? Obviously, Scotty Cameron's probably not worried too much about Hana Golf. I'm guessing Odyssey's doing okay, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that there's no space left for an innovator like you're putting forth in Hana. So, can you help us kind of define goals and what success looks like for you?
So such a good question, Bill. And in my corporate job, I would have had such a polished answer for you on this, but I don't have a good answer, honestly, for this style of question that comes our way. And we're really treating this like, worrying about our daily and weekly process. And the results will be the results. Like, we can't force people to buy putters from us. We can't force people to demo putters from us. And so the result will be the result, and we feel that we have shipped almost 800 putters now in
Hmm.
14 months,
Wow.
15 months. And we feel like there's room in the market for us. We haven't spent any money on marketing. We feel that there's room for a 303 stainless CNC milled putter that's made in America, which there aren't many left that are really doing that. And you mentioned Detroit Putter Company; they are doing that, and I give them a lot of credit. I mean, for us, I think we just want to worry about weekly process, and let the results speak for themselves. If I had, obviously, I want this thing to continue to grow. I don't really have any desire to ever have 50 to 100 people on this team. If that's what ends up happening, then that, I guess, that's the way that we wanted to go with it. Of course, I want to we want to get more mills in here, and we want to sell more putters and come out with some new designs. And so right now, immediate for us is we're working on 2 new designs, and then we'll hope to have out here by the end of the year. And then we're going to do a couple other limited stuff along the way, and just see where that ultimately takes us, and see what the market's willing to bear for us, Bill.
One of the reasons that I asked the question is connected to your newsletter and your mindset of studying the business of golf, right? Because I was wondering, I still am wondering how you are able to separate a guy whose mind is driven by data and business reports as you set your goals for your company. I think it's so cool that you are trying to get it not necessarily to a market share number, that kind of a thing, because that's a tough sledding, and you would feel almost like I would think from time to time an impossible journey, right? You're not gonna knock off Odyssey, let's put it that way. But to be able to live your dream, to make a living, to bring some others along the way, to continue growing, and to probably those moments where you get feedback from a customer who says, I just finished my round with my new Hana putter and I've never putted better. I got to think that those are the Hall of Fame moments that you guys are celebrating?
Nothing makes me happier when we get an email or a text or message on social media with that. That truly makes our day. And yeah, I mean, look, I don't know where this thing's going to go. We shipped 102 putters in August for us, which was our best
Wow,
month by 30.
nice.
And I mean, like the big guys are doing that in like a minute. Like Lab just sold for $200 million, and I believe the market size is around 750 million because there's 2.5 million putters sold globally every year. And you're right, I am a data driven person, and it's been a very strange process for me to kind of like do something I think with a different mindset, and it's been weird. Like it's not been like a forced thing for me to think like this. It's just I'm in the trenches, every day running machines and, building putters. And, I mean, it's my focus is so immediate, and that's also a negative, but that's really where I'm at. It's almost like from a golf standpoint, I'm not going to worry about, my result for the tournament. I'm just going to worry about my process and practice for the week, my prep, and just see what happens. I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what we're trying to do, and let the chips fall where they fall.
Well, I got to tell you, man, it's just such a cool story. And like I said at the outset, I've been following your progress on your social channels. There's another kind of family owned and operated innovative idea in the Charlie Golf Company. So he's doing the bags for kids, right? And you see this thing start with a couple in the garage, and then you see it expand to the warehouse, and then you see it everywhere. And it's in both cases, I've just from afar had such admiration and appreciation because the grind is real. And I don't use that as a pun. I know you're grinding things all the time, but the grind is real. The risk is real, right? This is not like some imaginary club in a treehouse where you have to have a secret knock to get in. Your resources are invested in all of this. Your time is invested in all of this. And I'm curious as to when you have conversations with golfers who aren't as familiar with Hanna Golf, how do you sell the soap to them? What's the defining characteristic of a Hanna Golf putter that you want our audience to hear about so that it might intrigue them to take the next step and investigate a bit further?
Yeah, and I love doing events and meeting people in person. It's so much fun. And you kind of mentioned like how we can differentiate ourselves a little bit. I think, from our standpoint, from a features and benefits side, we have two main things, and that is we have a bumper on the sole of our putter. And what that bumper does is like two different things, Bill. So that bumper moved the center of gravity forward in the putter, which has been, it's been a solid improvement, we think, especially for us in the feedback we get. The second thing is it. Now, this is kind of more personal preference, but what we've noticed is that it allows a golfer to take away, the putter on their backstroke without any friction. We're not going to hit our putter's not going to drag on the grass per se. The second thing is our mill pattern is a little bit unique on our face. It's wider and deeper than what you're going to traditionally see. And so it's going to give a soft yet really responsive feel that 303 milled stainless steel provides. And so, those are really our two selling points. And then what we've done in, our Amarillo model, which is a double wide blade, we have an MOI machine where we can measure MOI. And so we put our competitors up on that. We put ours up on that, and ours measures higher. And so what MOI tells you is the higher the number, the better from a forgiveness standpoint. If you hit it off the toe, it's going to roll from a distance standpoint still, almost like it would in the center. And same with our El Reno. When we've put that up against competitors, milled putter competitors, and it measures better. And so from a higher standpoint. So that's something that we've been really proud of to do. And, to really get our designs to work like that and to perform like that has been something that, honestly surprised me in the first 8 months when I started this thing.
So as of right now, all sales are direct to consumer, right? They're through your website. You're not in any bricks and mortar places or you have no affiliations. Do you want those things, or do you like it the way it is with direct to consumer?
I mean, I certainly, so, about 70 to 80% of our business is direct to consumer. And then the remaining is we're in a handful of golf shops, mostly in Iowa, a
Yeah.
couple scattered out through the United States, Alaska, Utah,
Alaska.
Florida, Texas.
Alaska. What?
I know. That's the beauty about social media, Bill. You meet people, and
So cool.
they've been willing to support us. And those putters, sold out pretty quickly up there for them. So we were excited to see that. And so the other portion is, something that I didn't plan for is there's a pretty big B2B component with this, and that's a company who wants to buy 8 putters for their sales reps or 6 putters for their sales reps, and they want their logo on them and they want them a little bit different, and that's something that we're happy to do. And so that's where we're at as far as what our plan is going forward. We're going to keep moving this as capacity allows, and so if capacity allows us for to maybe move in the more of the B2B route through wholesale, we'll do that. I mean, really anything really is on the table from our standpoint. I like our focus right now, and we'll keep doing that, but we'll see what happens in the future.
So if somebody was listening to this and they said, I have a chain of stores and I'd like 1,000 putters, that would make your day, but it would also become a rather frantic scramble, one would think, to fulfill an order of that size.
We couldn't do it, unfortunately, and people out there would disagree with I think my take is I think some companies would take that order and then they would outsource the manufacturing to another shop. I don't really believe in doing that. If our name's in the product, I want to make it. And so 1,000 we really couldn't handle. We just shipped an order for 35 putters, which was our biggest yet. And so I think we'll keep, climbing the ladder and keep leveling up. Maybe we'll get an order for 50 and then we'll just see what happens, and we'll just keep leveling up and climbing. Yeah, I mean, I wish we could do 1,000, Bill. Our max capacity is about 1,200 a year right now is where we're at. So,
Well, obviously it's a hypothetical question, and
right.
I have one more hypothetical for you that
Yeah.
will kind of use as our wind down time, and it really goes to the heart of this being your passion. You mentioned that lab putters sold for a couple $100 million, and I'm sure the investors in lab putters were pretty happy about that flipping of the company. If some brand came to you and said, Jared, we want to acquire Hanna Golf and whatever, I don't know, they put together a nice number, whatever the number would be. Is that your goal, or is this going to live, breathe, and die with Jared Doerfler?
I mean, probably the latter. Live, breathe, and die with me. We're so small. We're still worth pretty much nothing. So we've got a lot of work to do to even get interest like that from some folks. And what we do see quite often is inquiries about people that want to or are interested in investing in us. And I want to keep this thing 100% private with me and the people that work here. And I think really that's our focus. And the challenge, Bill, here's the challenge that we've really run into the last 4 months is manufacturing in America is hard because of the capital requirements it takes to grow. So for us to add another machine is another $100,000. If we were to have investors, that would make me sleep a little bit better at night. But on the flip side, I have to then answer to those people, rightfully so. It would be their money. And I kind of wanted to create my own company and build my own company, so I didn't have to answer to those types of those people, or answer to anybody. I shouldn't say types of people, but those people.
Right.
So right now, that's our mindset, Bill. That could change in the future as capital requirements change, and maybe there's demand. Maybe we have to grow quickly because of something happens that's positive, and for us to capture any market share, any upside, maybe we have to do that. So I'm not opposed to really anything, but right now, I think our focus right now is just keeping this thing 100% private with us.
Yeah. Um, for our audience's benefit, just on a broad scale, what is the range of prices for the various Hanna Golf putters?
Our putters are $295, and so they're about 150 bucks less than what you're going to see with a competitor. And then customers have options to add things on if they want. So if they want to add a black finish, or if they want to add on a super stroke grip, or they want to put their initials on the bottom for engraving, they can do that. And some of those things are up charges. And I mean, they start at $295, and we get orders every day that are $295 flat with free shipping. So we think it's a pretty competitive but yet fair price.
Well, here's hoping the orders continue to roll in. And I really appreciate you kind of bringing us along on the journey. It's good to connect with you again. It's been a couple years, and my how things change between conversations. So I can't wait for the next one when somehow we hear that Hanna Golf has gone global, and you're bigger than you ever dreamed of being. So it's really good stuff. Jared, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Bill. I appreciate it.